In the summer of 1518, in the streets of Strasbourg, a woman began to dance, and she did not stop for nearly a week. No music was playing. No festival was underway. Chroniclers recorded her name as Frau Trophia, and they recorded something else, her face. She did not look joyful. Witnesses described a woman who danced as if she could not stop, her feet bleeding into her shoes, collapsing from exhaustion only to rise and dance again. Her husband begged her to stop. She seemed not to hear him. Within days, something far stranger happened. Others joined her. Not in celebration, in compulsion. First a handful of neighbors, then dozens. Contemporary accounts say that within a week, more than 30 people were dancing in the streets of Strasbourg, and within a month, some chronicles claim the number had swollen into the hundreds. They danced through the July heat. They danced through the night. They danced until their bodies gave out. To understand how a city responds to something like this, you have to understand what Strasbourg was in 1518. It was a prosperous free city of the Holy Roman Empire, but its people were desperate. The harvests had failed. Bread prices had climbed beyond the reach of the poor. Disease moved through the crowded lanes, smallpox, leprosy, the new terror people called the French disease. Orphans crowded the church steps. And hanging over all of it was a very specific medieval fear, the curse of Saint Vitus, a saint who, it was believed, could punish sinners by forcing them to dance. The city council did what authorities always do when confronted with the inexplicable: they consulted the experts. The physicians of Strasbourg examined the dancers and delivered their diagnosis: hot blood. The cure they prescribed may be the single most catastrophic medical decision of the 16th century. The dancers, they said, must dance it out. And so the city government of Strasbourg, sober, respectable men, ordered the construction of stages. They opened guild halls to the afflicted. According to the chronicles, they hired musicians, pipers and drummers, and even paid strong men to hold the dancers upright so they could keep moving. They turned the affliction into a public performance, and it worked exactly as well as pouring oil on a fire. Surrounded by pounding drums and crowds of frightened onlookers, more people fell into the dance. Whatever this thing was, it fed on attention and it fed on fear. Then people began to die. In the summer heat, dancing for days without rest, the human body simply fails, heart, muscles, and mind giving way one after another. One later account claimed that at the plague's height the dance was killing as many as 15 people a day. Historians treat that number with caution, and the true toll is unknown, but the deaths themselves appear in multiple records. The city finally reversed course. The music was banned. Dancing was outlawed. The afflicted were loaded into wagons and carried to the shrine of Saint Vitus at Savin, in the hills outside the city, where they were given small crosses and red shoes, and mass was said over them. And then, slowly, over weeks, it stopped. As mysteriously as it began, the dancing plague of 1518 burned itself out. Here is the turn in this story, the part that changes what everything before it means. Strasbourg was not the first. Records from across medieval Europe describe at least 10 outbreaks of compulsive dancing before 1518, including a massive one in 1374 that swept through towns along the Rhine, involving thousands of people. This was a recurring affliction, appearing again and again in the same anxious, famine-stricken corner of Europe, and then, after 1518, essentially never again. So what was it? For centuries the favorite explanation was ergot, a mold that grows on damp rye, containing compounds related to LSD. Bad bread, mass poisoning, hallucinating peasants. It is a satisfying theory with one fatal problem: ergot poisoning constricts blood flow to the limbs. It causes convulsions and gangrene. Victims of ergotism could barely walk. They could not have danced for days. The explanation most historians now favor is, in a way, stranger than any poison. Mass psychogenic illness, the mind, under unbearable stress, producing real physical symptoms that spread from person to person like a contagion of belief. The people of Strasbourg lived in genuine misery, and they believed, completely, literally, that Saint Vitus could curse them to dance. The theory goes that in a population primed by famine, fear, and faith, that belief became a trigger. Trance states are documented in cultures around the world. What made Strasbourg different was that its people entered the trance expecting punishment. And the city's response, the stages, the musicians, the public spectacle, confirmed the curse was real and spread it. If that explanation is right, the dancing plague was not a disease of the body at all. It was a city having a collective nightmare while wide awake. The dancers were not pretending. Their agony was real, their deaths were real, the bleeding feet, the broken bodies. But the affliction lived in belief itself, which may be why no microscope has ever found it. There is one more detail worth sitting with. When historians checked the records of the shrine at Savin, where the wagonloads of dancers were taken, they found the treatment there actually seemed to work. The dancers were ritually absolved, and the compulsion faded. The cure for the curse was the same thing as the cause, belief. The dancing plague has never returned. But mass psychogenic events still occur in the modern world, outbreaks of fainting, twitching, laughter spreading through schools and factories, documented by physicians who can find nothing else wrong. The machinery that seized Strasbourg in 1518 is still inside us, waiting for the right combination of fear and faith. Which leaves the question historians still cannot answer: if it happened again tomorrow, in a world connected not by church bells but by screens, would we recognize it? Or would we build the stages and hire the musicians all over again?